Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Zone's ClassicWhoZone. We are here for the Dalek invasion of Earth. I hope you are all very well indeed. And I am going to make this the last Classic Who Zone for a while because, people are busy right now at the moment, and there's no point doing them if we're not going to have a full panel. So this will be the last one for a while. I'll probably bring them back in the winter when everybody has some time. So it's quite fitting that we end it on a William Hartnell story. So there'll be something else on Wednesdays in its place. So I'll let you know when I know what I'm going to do with Wednesdays, but this will be the last one. So let's bring on me guest that I have joining me for tonight, and it's real super doctor. Nice to see you.
Hello, how you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I just had a kind of touch of the cold because of the weather. The new.
The weather's been a bit weird, all right.
Yeah,
it's all over the place. I mean, it's warm here today. It was very bad yesterday and the day before, so it is. Yeah, it's all over the place, and everybody is getting sick around me. It's mad.
It's just as funny how it rains and I start coughing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's something in the rain that's coming down in the rain. I just don't know.
Yeah, they're spraying the sky all the time. Like, they keep denying it, but you're seeing the airplane. Like, people are putting up videos all over Twitter and social media. Like, you're seeing it. So they can deny it all they want, but there is something definitely going on. So I suppose we might as well get started, John, on the Dalek invasion of Earth. So for anybody that doesn't know, the Doctor and the TARDIS land back on Earth, but it soon becomes apparent that there's something amiss. The Doctor comments that, well, if we're in London, how come I can't hear any traffic? Why are certain things crumbling? Why can't I hear people? Couldn't hear Big Ben and stuff like that. So it becomes apparent that they are on Earth, but not our timeline, and all hell breaks loose. So, John, this is considered to be one of the...
Yeah, I think it's considered to be one of the fan favourites because this is the second Dalek story, and you can see how much effort they went into making this story, because they took on this task of transforming studio sets into London, damaged London, and that. And they tried to. It's a hugely ambitious task of early on a Sunday morning, where it's nice and quiet. They get trucks, Daleks, and tied to the back of tied to them, and they had the Daleks going over Westminster Bridge in about maybe 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the Sunday morning. So they could do the filming because London's quite busy. I don't think they could do filming like that now in London because of the constant hustle and bustle and the traffic and that. But they managed to pull it off. The very little budget they had. It's all thanks to the imagination of the writers, the Verity Lambert, the way she was taking the direction of the show. She knew where all the locations were and the location filming to take the Daleks to and that and it is really an ambitious task. You know, you've got these episodes and you're getting the demand of the BBC. You've got to put these episodes out and that, and after the other serial went out, it is an amazing. It really is amazing because for 1964, uh, the limited budget they had to try and convince the audience and that, and you know, but it's
I mean,
personally my favorite stories anyway.
yeah, I mean, very early on in the episode, like you get the
Yeah,
don't you get that? Oh, it's at the end of the episode, isn't it? That iconic scene with
yeah,
the Dalek coming out of
yeah,
the water. I was
yeah,
actually watching the behind the scenes
yeah,
about that. A little bit of trivia here for anybody.
yeah,
They couldn't actually get the Dalek fully submerged into the water, so they used a bit of trickery to make it look like it was coming out of the water, but the tide or something, or the water level was too low where
yeah,
they were
yeah,
to film this, but they managed to get that shot done, and it has become that scene obviously, and the scene on the bridge,
yeah.
where the Daleks are coming across the bridge are the iconic scenes. But yeah, this
Um,
was
I,
I mean, very early on, the doctor and Co, they split up to investigate what you call it. Susan hurt
yeah,
her ankle.
yeah,
The acting in that scene was actually pathetic, I have to say.
yeah.
But
I would say so myself.
anyway, but you get you get them then kind of exploring, and
Yeah,
then obviously they say that something is up. Um, I mean, I have to be honest. I only watched this last week again, and not one every episode, every part, I was intrigued. It kept
yeah,
me engrossed in it. I
yeah,
mean, it is kind of mad to see a future where the Daleks are the masters of Earth. I mean, I even love that line: "Daleks are masters of Earth. Daleks are masters of Earth." Like
yeah,
it's just real creepy. But again, this was, as you said, the second Dalek story, um, and it has become an iconic one. To be
yeah.
honest, do you think one is? Would you say this is the best Dalek classic Dalek
Well,
story,
I
or
would.
because some people will say, well, Genesis, Jack has
Yeah,
said it. Genesis is kind of a Davros story, not really a Dalek story. I mean,
I think.
would you
I
say
think
this
that
is up there as the best one?
I would say it would be up there, but I think this quite establishes that the Daleks could go to other planets and other universes, because when we see it for the first time, the Dalek coming out of the water, and it surprises the Doctor and Ian, and they know that because of their previous encounter with the Daleks, they're quite actually surprised how the Daleks managed to travel from the far future to Skaro to Earth to conquer a planet. You know, it's like,
Especially when they needed
yeah,
static electricity, wasn't
yeah,
it? There was
yeah,
static
they were powered
electricity
by
to move
static.
around, and the
Yeah,
next time they encountered them, all of a sudden they're moving around freely.
yeah, yeah. Well,
And we got Queen
it is
Charlotte
quite
joining us.
interesting. It's quite interesting because the Daleks had developed a kind of a kind of mutable power, a power that they could actually escape their city and travel the universe, find planets, conquer planets. I think the Daleks must have done that before they reached Earth and found that Earth had the natural resources and because they basically wanted a planet so they could use it to pilot through the universe and it would be their entire base because we know in the far future that Scarrow is destroyed by the Seventh Doctor with the Hand of Omega. So it's like the Daleks. History is all over the place because the earliest Daleks were called the Dals, and it was discovered that by Ian Chesterton and the Doctor when they were looking through the old records of the original Daleks, and they had a past in that, and before they had mutated, there were these handsome human beings just like the Thals and that. But as later on they kind of developed, and there was wars and that, and they basically destroyed their planet through radiation and the destruction of that, and they went and they retreated into their city and that, and the only way that they could protect themselves is have these kind of suits and armor, basically. So the Daleks, that's how basically the Daleks evolved as they were, and the Daleks mutated and through various genetic mutations and all that to try and improve themselves and that, and it's interesting how they evolved beyond the first defeat in the first episode of the the first serial, the Daleks, and how they come to be conquerors of the universe. But as we look from the 1970s, from Genesis of the Daleks, we see a total different take on the Daleks. The Daleks became they were originally the Khaleds, and it was about a war between the Thals and the Khaleds and that, and Davros wanting to create this kind of super race, basically, into war machines and that, and that's how Davros had developed to the Mark III travel machines. But as the earlier Doctor Who's, as we're just only trying to piece together what is actually being told, because we're just basically being told that this is how the Daleks evolved and that, but we're never given that kind of detailed proper description of the Daleks and that, and so it's basically up to Terry Nation to come up with something a little bit more interesting.
Queen Charlotte?
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
welcome, by the way.
Sorry,
welcome,
I was
Charlotte.
eating. I've just literally finished eating. No, this is an interesting one because I think this is one of the best stories for tone I can think for classic, and it's that sort of depressing, sort of everything's dour,
Yeah.
everything sort of. It's this sort of darkness, isn't it? It's this sort of just this dread. That's the word I think when I think about this story, and I think throughout all the parts,
Yeah.
it does that dread so well. From the first scenes when you literally see them appear in London, and you see the sign about "Don't dump your dead bodies," and you just sort of go, "Okay," like they're not pulling punches here. And for really classic Who, this early on, it's really brave, and that's what I think about when I think about this story, how brave they were to do this type of thing. And I think what's interesting is, and I think even when we think of stories after this, usually when the Doctor arrives, it's at the start of the invasion, or it's mid-invasion, or it's basically when there's still a chance to win against the enemy. That time has been and gone in this story. They're coming to a world which has utterly been defeated, and the human race is this tiny, tiny little resistance. It's not powerful, it's not big. It is literally just a few sort of small groups at the most who are still fighting at this point. So it's interesting just that's the point of the story they came in. Like I said, usually with the Doctor, he's there for the fight. And with this Doctor, it's just, what can I do with the tiny resources which are left by the end? And even when he does sort of win, it's not a glorious moment like we usually get in Who. And also you've got the added thing of he loses Susan at the end of this story. So even when he does get the Daleks defeated, as much as he can, there's that sort of, you get that high moment, and then you sort of get brought down to earth. That tone, like I said, it's so brilliantly done. And you get Susan's goodbye. And I think Bill's acting is gorgeous, because you get that sense of he doesn't want to let her go. He's still very attached to her, but he knows it's better for her, that she shouldn't be spending her life with him. She needs to go out in the world. She needs to have her own family and find love. So it's this lovely sort of, you can feel the regret, but you can feel he's happy at the same time. So it's brilliantly played by Bill. And I think even Susan's actor, Carolyn, you buy that she falls for this guy. Like, usually when you think, God, how do you get a companion to go? You give them a love story. But actually, because this is a 6-parter, you actually slowly get to see her fall for, I forgot his character's name of the fella. Is he David?
Yeah.
You see her slowly fall for David.
Yeah.
And you
David
see
Campbell.
that spark of like romance. So you go by the end of the story, yeah, I buy that she wants to live with this guy and she wants to take a chance.
Sure, you could see it when the doctor is telling Susan to come on, right? Then he's walking towards the TARDIS, but then he sees Susan, he pretends that he's opening the TARDIS door, and he sees Susan go over to David, and he asks her to stay, and then you could see the doctor's face right there and then.
Yeah.
He's heartbroken because he knows what he's going to do. He knows that, as you said, this is the right place for her to have her own roots, to settle down, and she'll be there to help create this new world and stuff like that. And he wants her to have, as I said, somewhere where she can belong. And you could see it as he's walking into the TARDIS then. You could see it there and then. He had made up his mind that he was going to get her to stay here. And it is, even in the next story.
It still
right? Because I watched, you could see it. He's heartbroken. Right, they land on this. I think it's at the start of Planet of the. I think it's Planet of the Giants. I think, is that the next
Can't
one?
remember
I'm not
what
quite
the next
sure.
one is.
But whatever it is, he won't leave the TARDIS. He's tired all of a sudden, and then like he goes back into the TARDIS, and then they even said Barbara and what's his face say, "Oh, you're missing Susan." Like you could tell, like it was, that moment.
What also is lovely about this story is obviously with Ian and Barbara, they had such a sort of tense, argumentative introduction to this doctor. And you're starting to see in this story, I think, the team really starting to flourish of Ian, Barbara, Susan, and the doctor. Because this is one of the other good stories for them all getting separated at different points and all having to do different things. Like Ian has his sort of more manual stuff when he gets caught up with the resistance. You get Barbara and Susan sort of being the more emotional part with the resistance, and then obviously Susan with the romantic bit. And then you have the doctor who you can see also, he's obviously there for the brains and the sort of knowledge, but you can also see he doesn't quite know what to do here. And I think whenever you see Bill's doctor unsure, it's quite interesting to see, because you can see he's just like, I almost get a sense watching this story, he's thinking, should I change this? Because it's history at this point, the Daleks have won. Should I change history now and try and, you can see he's a bit torn.
Conflicted, yeah.
Yeah. Not just because of, like I said, at the point he's arrived. And also you've got the resistance, who so many get lost, and we get so many sacrifices up to the point near the end. So that's another thing that I love, how all the characters have their moment in the sun. I feel like in this story, like nobody feels like they're just extra and they shouldn't be there. That they all have a point to play and a part to play in the overall plan. I think if I were to really do any proper criticism of this, I think a lot of the first Doctor 6-parters suffer from this. There's a bit of flab. There's a bit of stuff in the middle which can feel a bit slow. when you're watching it.
They again, that can be the issue with Classic Who. I think someone with this story as well, I'm not sure if it's true, but someone, obviously we've nobody in the chat today because, as I said, look,
we're back, so we need to make
people
know that.
No, the thing about it is, here's the thing, Wednesday seems to be an awkward day for this. Everybody seems to be busy again, so I'm just gonna knock it on their head until the winter or something. Their real super doctor is gone as well because he's bored. I'm only messing. He's been doing that since he joined before we came live. His internet, as you know, he has problems. So I'm thinking of making this one the last one, and then we'll resume in September and see how we get on when everybody is, a little less busy. Because coming into the summer, we'll be even lucky if we have anybody watching the new Who ones now in the next couple of weeks because it's getting closer.
And to be fair, we're going to have hopefully a lot of news going forward, so there'll be streams talking
so I'm going
to
change Wednesdays. I'll put something else in its place, and then when we finish Peter Capaldi, because we will finish that to the end. I'm not going to stop while we're nearly there.
We might as well finish it.
We might as well finish with this. We've already done these stories over and over. It will be nice to take a bit of a break. I thought bringing it back would be a good idea, but to be honest with you, the numbers don't justify us keep doing them with all the effort that we put in. I have Tim King doing the audio for the trailers, and then I'm editing trailers together, and then nobody's showing up. So you know what I mean. We always seem to get more views for this in the winter time rather than doing it in the middle of the year. And with the 50th, with the 60th and all coming in November, it'll be the perfect time to bring it back because everybody be interested in Doctor Who again coming up to the end. You know what I mean? It's because it's dead. But this is what happens that's why we do the other stream on Fridays now. We're branching out, obviously, and we're doing Hollywood stuff. They're doing those streams are doing very well. It's actually weird what's happened now. The Doctor Who content's not doing well anymore. It's the other stuff that we're doing, which is baffling. But I think it's because of the last Chibnall. I blame Chibs. But here he is. He's back anyway. But so we'll make this is a good one to end on anyway. Till September. I'll bring it back in September. You know I will.
Yeah.
Because we like doing these stories. And we'll have. Do you know what I'll do? Before we do them the next time, I'll get all the panelists together one day, and we'll all have a discussion and think about which way we want to do them to kind of change it up a little bit when we bring it back to make it more interesting. Maybe have images on the screen or something like that. Maybe a bit of trivia. So we'll have a chat about it, folks, right? When we get closer, we'll have a chat and we'll see which way we want to do them. So back to this anyway. Charlotte, go on. But what I was saying was, so apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently someone has taken out all of the crap and edited this together, streamlined it. Which in some ways you can understand why, but in other ways I'd say, look, I get it, right? Back in the 60s, they had to fill 25 minutes or whatever it was. And no matter what, if they wanted to hold something for the next part and they had to fill the episode out so they could keep it, I kind of understand that. You know what I mean? I think we all do. It's just... I don't think the flab, as you said, it is a criticism and it's a valid one. But I think there's so much good in this story.
Oh yeah, like I said, compared when it comes to
other stories,
this is one of the better ones for it. I will. There's no denying that. This is a bit more pacey. There's a bit more action with this story. It makes a bit more sense, like I said, that when they're separated, why they're separated.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack as well.
Like I said, and you've just got this overarching big story which sort of drives the whole plot constantly forward. I just think naturally it does still suffer a tiny bit, and it's more just that middle bit, and it's always the middle bit with the six-parter.
Here's a question for you, because we watched the Peter Cushing movies, yeah? You were here for the Peter Cushing movie, Charlotte, weren't you? Yeah. So what do you think of the Peter Cushing version of this compared to the TV one? Which one do you prefer, actually?
Oh, See, it's been a while since I've watched a Peter Cushing. I think there's definitely. I think from my memory, I don't like the core group of characters as much in the Cushing movies, except from Bernard Cribbins' character in the second one.
And Peter Cushing himself.
Like
He's
those
actually
are the two
pretty good.
standout.
Yeah.
It's more just obviously because we can't have Barbara, Ian, and Susan, so we have like alternate, don't we? And I don't find them as interesting as what we have in the television. So it suffers there, but I do think it is a bit better with the pacing bits.
And I do think if you look at it, and this is why we have to praise Doctor Who so much, though, because you've got to think of the budget compared to the movie budget. I mean, the effects for the William Hartnell story are amazing. I have to be honest. I mean, they are for the time. I mean, obviously for the Peter Cushing movies, he had a bit more budget, and that Dalek ship did look amazing in the movies. I'm not going to lie, but I still prefer personally the William Hart. There's just something about William Hartnell's performance, and you're right as well. Without Ian and Barbara there, and even Susan, this story, David, the characters that you get to know, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Well, I think also you've got the advantage. Obviously, the television has the advantage of we've been with these characters now for a while.
Yeah.
When we get to this story, so we care more about them.
Yeah, true.
We feel more tension when they're in danger versus the movie cast. Like I said, Bernard Cribbins is the exception because it's Cribbins and he's so good at just instantly making you. Well, no, it's that, but I think what his skill was, and you can see it in the movie. Within 5 minutes, you get attached.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a legend.
Within 5 minutes, you're like, yeah, I care about Tom.
He's a movie. Look at it's such a travesty that BAFTA failed to include him in the list of the dead when they did the live show. Okay, after the fact they did it, that's not good enough. This man is a legend, right? But he's also he's a legend of screen. No matter what he was in, no matter who he played, you got attached to that character.
Yeah.
He was that type because he came across as a warm person and a kind person.
He came across as also very earnest.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to act. Like, not a lot of actors can be earnest in their roles. You always know this is what Bernard did, and I think also this is what I feel about with Barbara and Ian's actor and actress. You forget their characters.
Yeah.
And you sort of just go, no, it's Ian. No, it's Barbara.
Yeah,
no, it's
exactly.
Tom. And like you forget that, so the earnestness is just there. So that's the difference.
Yeah, we'll talk about Paul O'Grady at the end of this stream.
Yes.
Because that news broke last night when I was still awake early this morning. We'll get into that now after we finish talking about the Dalek invasion.
But to be fair, like even we're talking about the actors, even a lot of the supporting cast is brilliant in this.
Oh yeah, your guy that plays David,
the guy who's the professor,
and the professor is brilliant. Yeah,
like when he goes out to basically go on a mission, he knows he's not going to make it.
Yeah,
you feel that, but it's basically, I won't say the word because we'll probably get in trouble, but it's that sort of, it's a run, and he knows he's not going to come back from it.
Yeah,
but he's doing it anyway.
Yeah. He's doing it anyway because he believes that, that the humans can actually defeat. There's actually a lot of parallels. I was watching. I've been over the last couple of nights. I've been watching the Planet of the Apes franchise. So I watched all the Charlton Heston movie, and then obviously the second one, the one after that, the one. So I've watched all the classic movie, but there's a bit of that as well. Like there's parallels because the humans and obviously the apes are fighting for supremacy of the earth. Oh yeah, and then you've got the Daleks and these humans that are left fighting for the earth. There's mad parallels. Doctor Who was way ahead of its time with this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah,
it shows you the consequences of war. What can happen when when the human race is basically left in pockets, surviving.
Left to go underground, basically.
Yeah.
But also, it's like that's the other thing, like with Doctor Who. Like, I think New Who and Classic Who share this. It's that idea of celebrating the human spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's also what this story does.
Yeah, RTD did that very well. And actually Stephen Moffat did as well. He was Moffat really did with the Matt Smith, you know, when we got introduced to Winston Churchill and all. Like, I mean, look, Doctor Who is very British, and you have to have that. Even as an Irishman, I'm saying that Doctor Who isn't Doctor Who if you don't have that British symbolism in an empire and all of that stuff that they do. You know, the good thing about Doctor Who, it does highlight these things, but not always in a positive light either. Remember, they have...
like, in this story, you get the good side of it.
Yeah.
And then you get the mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Who snitch on Barbara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that just shows, like, you don't feel like they're bad people.
No, it's because they're driven by fear.
Because they're driven, by fear. So even then, it's not the good side of humanity, but it's the side you understand.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're only on it in the story.
Anything for survival. Anything to survive. That's what happens. You become, seriously, you do. You know, you don't need to see Hollywood movies or TV shows. If that really happened, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be survival of the fittest, and you will take any advantage to survive. And I don't care what anybody says out there. They can deny that they wouldn't do things to survive. Everybody does. It's a part of human instinct. It's there. Our will to survive. It's bred into. It's there. It's in our DNA. It's like that scene in the Satan Pit, where the doctor's standing right at the edge, and he talks about, you know, will I jump? What's that urge for humans wanting to, you know what I mean? Wanting to jump. Same thing here. The human, you can't hypnotize someone to jump off a cliff, because the will to survive is embedded into you. So if the world was to go to crap, which I think it might, right, it's going to be survival of the fittest. It's going to be survival of the fittest. And I tell you something, I wouldn't do everything. I wouldn't rat on people to survive. I wouldn't. No. It's not in my DNA. I'd be the type of person that would try and protect people and stuff like that.
You'd be the person who get found out.
But I'd be smart. You have to be smart. But I wouldn't cross that line. There's no way. You know, there are other human beings, but there would be people out there that will, to survive. Actually, I'll tell you, it will be the weakest. It'll be the weakest. They'll be the first ones to bow down and give up all their friends, their family, just to survive. And it's, you know, unfortunately, it does happen. But you can't criticize those people. That's the thing. Charlotte is absolutely right. They're driven by fear. They're driven, you know, they've seen what's happened.
This story sets the whole background for that up.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you go, God, they're a bit like horrible for doing it to Barbara, but you understand why they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fascinating story on a human level.
Yeah, it's basically just exploring humanity's little traits and sort of the good and bad.
Yeah, showing the good, the bad, and the desperation of what people would actually do to survive. This is what Classic Who was good at doing. Showing all of that. And without bashing it over your heads, but confined it within a invasion story. Do you know what I mean? A conquered Earth with Daleks. You know, if this was done right, if the Dalek invasion of Earth was done by Chris Chibnall, it would be a completely different story, folks.
Yeah.
Right? Just think about that. It'd be a completely different story. And we've lost Real Super Doctor again. He's internet, but I have to say, internet all over the world has been
Mine's been bad this week.
Yeah, there's something going on that they're not telling us. They're distracting us with all of this other stuff.
Daniel will tell you. I tried to chat with him on FaceTime, and I kept getting kicked off.
Yeah. I'm not being, before we come on live here, I have to be listening to a few music videos, and they keep actually stopping in the middle, like literally buffing for half a second and then just playing again. And that's been happening all day. there's something going on with it's probably the weather, the solar activity with the sun, but they don't tell us anything anymore, NASA. I remember the good old days when NASA used to like inform us and stuff. Now they
press
don't even bother.
conferences.
Yeah, now they don't even bother their arses. They're too busy doing whatever, trying to get to Mars or something. Or the moon now. Oh no, it's the moon. Yeah. We're trying to go back to the moon now. Now, my question is why we've waited this long. But like, if we do, and if I'm alive to see it, imagine we're going to have what the people had in 69, wasn't it? 68?
And think about it in colour. With like proper cameras.
We're going to see a moon landing by humans on the moon. And President Biden said there would be a person of color and a woman going up onto the moon, as if that makes any difference whatsoever. The fact that humans have landed on the moon again should be your actual,
but we know what they're like nowadays,
right? But Biden is like, oh no, we're great. If they're both qualified, right? Nobody gives a shit about their skin color or gender. If they can land successfully on the moon, right, since the 70s. Right, and put people on the moon, that's an achievement in itself, right? So, like, leave it out with again, gender politics and race politics comes out of bleeding Biden's mouth all the time. He couldn't even talk about the moon landing without bringing something up, like. And I wonder what their, do you know the way Neil Armstrong had the famous tagline? That this will be their one giant step for a person of color, one giant leap for womankind.
Yeah, because you can't say people, or you can't say like half the words because they're offensive.
I wonder now. All joking aside, I wonder if they'll have their own little prep.
Oh, they
speech
will.
For
Come
them
on, they're gonna have their own little one-liner.
I hope they do, because that'd be deadly. But
they'd be daft not to.
Yeah, it's apparently supposed to happen next year, so we'll see what happens.
Go, Russell. .2 might be back on screens at that point. You can do an episode about it.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd laugh if we landed on the moon, right? And then like aliens just are right there in front, and it can't be denied. That would be
as long as it's not an egg.
As long as it's not spiders.
But imagine,
as well.
I wonder how the human race would actually react if they landed on the moon and then we actually saw alien life.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Anyway, we'll get back to this. We're nearly finished with the Dalek invasion of Earth. John, is there anything else you want to add to what Charlotte was saying there before we get into the rating and stuff like that?
I kind of lost a wee bit of that because I went in and out.
Yeah, we seeing that. Well, is there anything else you want to add about the story itself before we do the ratings there?
Well, the story is interesting because it gives the companions a lot to do by separating them, and that's what's good about the Hartnell era, is because as we see a majority of these stories, the companions are separated and they've got a lot of tasks to do to get back together again, and basically it just kind of pulls the story together to the conclusion. I quite like that. I quite like that they've got different tasks to do, and like it splits the story up. And I mean, you're just not focused on one thing, and that's how the story keeps moving along, and that's one of the interesting bits about this serial. As we see Barbara's story, we see Ian's story, we see Susan's story, we see the Doctor's story, and William Hartnell being out of a few episodes because he fell in a Dalek ramp in the spaceship and hurt his back. So he'd been out of action for most of it. So basically, they had to use Barbara. And Barbara and Jenny and that, and escaping and that, and going to and taking Dortmund's plans as well.
Yeah, and this is one of their.
to the
This
Dalek
is
mine
by
and that, and we
far.
see them in the Dalek mine and that, and
Yeah,
see how the
as I'm saying, this is by far one of their better reasons for why Bill's not in a couple of episodes story-wise. It's like, oh yeah, he got because of that machine he was in on the ship. Yeah, that makes sense now. It's not just, oh, Bill's disappeared. Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, you could tell. Actually, this is a story that you could really tell that Bill is not quite right though in the bits that he is in. And even in the next story, they obviously know that he's not well because they write in a line where, you know, oh, he's tired all of a sudden, needs to sleep and all of that.
Yeah.
Like he's not moving around and climbing stuff as vigorously as he was. You could tell that he slowed down a little bit, but he still was still able to get his lines out. But you could tell, you know, he's very forgetful. So you know, the William Hartnell era, actually, you will notice, you know, they couldn't even edit out some of these mistakes. In later stories, because you could see they could only film, you know, they filmed and they moved on. But you do see it. It's quite sad. Well, he would have literally died playing the Doctor if he was allowed.
If he would have got it his way,
yeah, if he was allowed to continue. And I think, you know, we obviously the dramatization of it in Adventure in Space and Time. It's Sidney Newman that tells him the news. I don't know if that is actually the case and that's how it went down, but that must have been very heartbreaking for everybody concerned.
Oh,
because, you know, without this man, William Hartnell, you know, it doesn't matter who had the idea. You know, if he didn't play it the way he played it, obviously, you know, we seen he wanted to play it a lot harsher, but, you know, when people were like Verity and all said, nah, listen, tone it down a bit, try come across as a bit, you know, more kinder and stuff.
Less Sergeant Drill sort of, wasn't it?
See, and you could see it.
Yeah.
So without William, you know, we wouldn't be sitting here today. You know, it just is sad. It is sad. I would not have liked to be at that meeting when making that decision.
Well, it's thanks to him that he established the character of the Doctor and that, and it's thanks to Patrick Troughton that established the concept of regeneration.
And Pertwee and Tom. That's what I mean. They've all added to it. They've all established their own Doctors as well at the same time. Remember that, as well as start keeping the show going. I mean, the classic era who actually, I'll get into it when we finish this. We'll just get into the ratings because I do want to talk about something that's happened with Doctor Who magazine. Right?
Oh,
I should really actually save this until the TARDIS talks on Friday. But we'll talk about it. So what we'll do is, unless anybody has anything else to say about the story, I don't think we do. If you just want to go around and give you our ratings, and then what we'll do is then we'll talk a little bit. So this is the end of the classic talk now. So if he's already here for that, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. If not, we're going to stay on for a couple of more minutes to talk about a few bits and pieces and give our opinions on, because it's not very often that I get Charlotte on and Real Super Doctor together to get their opinions on other stuff, because I obviously do it with Christian now. So there are a couple of things. So we'll do the rating. So we'll start with Queen Charlotte. So what would you give this story, The Dalek Invasion of Earth, out of 10?
I'd give this an 8, because like I said, there's a little bit of flab. And I think sometimes you can see certain characters don't have enough time, even though there is flab, which sounds odd, what I'm going to say now. Certain side characters can feel a little bit not developed enough. Those are the only real sort of negatives I can say. Otherwise, like I said, it's punchy, it's got adventure, it's got that dread, it's got that feeling of oppression so well. It's got some of the most iconic for a reason shots of Classic Who can be found in this story. You've got Hartnell giving one of his, like, even though you could see the health issues, I think this is by far one of his best performances.
I think it is one of his best, yeah.
With the Susan stuff, with also his reaction to just the Earth being in this state. And you got to remember, this is a doctor that isn't nowhere near as attached as later doctors. But even he's affected by just the sheer sort of power and how the Daleks have just completely subjugated the whole human race. Even that hits him. So that's acted really well. Once again, you really, at this point, the team's been around enough that they really all gel nicely. You see the chemistry. They all have something to do. But like I said, the only real criticism is a bit of flab, and some of the side characters are a bit forgettable. So 8 out of 10.
Fantastic. Real Super Doctor.
I would give this a 9 out of 10. I think that this has to be up there with one of the best Dalek stories that there is, and it's a second Dalek story of after the 1963 original Dalek story. So it's a massive credit to William Hartnell, because he was there, and because he couldn't be in a couple of scenes, and he'd done quite a few good speeches and that, and the speech at the end, one day I shall come back, you know, it's up there with one of the greatest. Just a total 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I'd have to go with you, Real Super Doctor. I agree with Charlotte the Flab, but I can't take 2 points off for that, to be quite honest with you. I do agree. William Hartnell chews up the scenes when he's in it. They all do. Credit where credit is due with this story, because there is so much going on, but you do get to know each individual character and learn about the backstory. Charlotte is right. There are a couple of characters in this that are unforgettable, but other than that, I mean, this is probably up there.
I'm nitpicking.
Yeah, but you're entitled to that. I just can't. I really can't, because I can't give it a 10 either. But it's definitely a 9 for me. I mean, it is. It's one of those stories, and I do like the speech. I mean, we all got very emotional, if you remember.
Oh God, yeah.
After we felt when the Chibnall era, and we all played that scene. And we were all sitting here,
like this far away from
literally devastated we were, because we thought Doctor Who was gone and it was lost and it was never coming back.
Yeah.
And we played that, and that resonated more with us than it ever did. So that line is very powerful. That speech is actually very powerful. They talk about powerful speeches, and this one gets overlooked. This resonated with a lot of us after the time, this children, folks. Remember, we actually played that clip again. Remember when we were saying goodbye to Doctor Who because we were all devastated, and I played that clip, and everybody.
Yeah, and what was worse is you didn't tell us you were going to play it. You just played it. So we were all just completely...
Yeah, everybody was sobbing. Right, it was. So this is, to me, it is one of the greatest speeches.
Yeah.
It gets overlooked. I mean, Peter has some amazing ones. Matt has some amazing ones. I'm going to say even Tennant has some amazing speeches, and Christopher Eccleston's one in Rose is actually pretty good, when he's holding her hand and he's telling her he can feel the earth whizzing around and all. That's brilliant. But that's the end of the Classic Who talk. So I don't want to dwell too much on the next couple of topics.
So I don't even know what they've done, so this would be fun.
But we'll talk about Paul O'Grady first. So last night it was announced that Paul O'Grady sadly passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of
67.
67?
67, which in today's society is actually pretty young.
Yeah.
Now, I've already seen people with their conspiracy theory, right? Because, he got the COVID jab. So this is why he's no longer with us. We don't know. And I'm sick and tired of all of this rubbish being peddled without actual factual information. We'll find out eventually. He's a celebrity, so his cause of death, unless it's something that the public don't need to know, it won't be revealed. But normally with all of these stars, we get to find out. It's sad. I grew up with Lily Savage as a kid. He did Blankety Blank as well. He did a show with his little dog Buster, and I remember when
Paul O'Grady
poor Buster passed away, and he came on, and he was devastated, and I think we were all devastated for him. And then he was doing this new show about dogs. We Love Dogs or something like that. He was doing that on ITV for a while, and he was working for BBC Two as well, radio. And he was actually due to do his radio show for them in the next couple of weeks. But I have to tell you, the reason why Lee is probably not here is because I sent them the news last night, and Lee had actually met him a few years back. So Lee is literally devastated.
Yeah.
He's in bits. I have to be honest with you. So I think that's why he's not here tonight.
Love you, Lee, but yeah, I understand.
And he was sending me some clips of him as Lily Savage on stage. Listen, he's a legend. Paul O'Grady was part of my childhood. Yes, he was a drag act, right? But I'm not complaining about his drag act, right?
Because he was good at it.
Because he was good, but nobody, listen, as Lee said, there was a lot of drag acts out there that tried to imitate what Paul O'Grady did, but they could never be Paul O'Grady. He was the ultimate. And yes, he was a drag, but can I make clear that his comedy was as funny as anything I've ever seen. It wasn't in bad taste. He was just an all-round brilliant, lovely man. You could tell he was one of the good ones. And I'm gutted. We seem to be losing a lot of our childhood celebrities. Some, obviously, we've came out and heard stories about them and they haven't been too nice. But this man was really a nice man. And I wouldn't be surprised, just like when George Michael died, we find out that this guy was helping charities all over and nobody knew.
He was known for that. He was known for charity. Paul did a lot of charity stuff. He was known for it.
Well, I bet you there's some charity work that he's done that we don't know about. Probably. That's the thing, because George Michael was the same. Everybody knew he did some charity work, but then when he died, then we literally found out that he was watching Deal or No Deal one day. George Michael's at home watching Noel Edmonds doing Deal or No Deal, and there was a contestant on it that was trying to win money for an operation for her kid, and she lost it all. George Michael rang up the show and said, I will give her the money for the treatment. And she got the treatment. I think it was, she wasn't sick. My apologies. She was trying to have a baby, her and her husband. She couldn't have a baby and she couldn't afford the money to get the fertility treatment. And he rang them up, gave them the money. She got the treatment and she ended up having a kid, and she named the kid Georgina after George Michael. And then obviously we found out he died Christmas Eve in his car alone, which is probably one of the fucking saddest things ever. I was good when he passed away because I knew everybody was going to take the piss because, he has a song called Last Christmas and he died Christmas Eve and everybody just start ripping the piss. I was like, don't be ripping the piss, man. He was a great man. But Paul O'Grady, another person from our childhood gone too soon.
And somebody with, I can't think of somebody with a better sense of humour. He was so dry and wicked. It was brilliant.
My gran that was into Paul O'Grady because she liked that. And
I think there's a delay. There's a delay on John's side.
Yeah.
That's why he cut across you there, Charlotte. He didn't realise because he has a delay.
All right.
Go on,
It's
mate. Make your
your
point there,
frozen there
John.
as well.
Anyway,
It was my gran that had taped a bit of it was a sketch that Paul O'Grady done as Lolly Savage's Doctor Who, and I remember that it must have been in 1997. It was like a small kind of I don't know, about a 10 minute sketch. I think you can find it here on YouTube.
he would have been great in Doctor Who, and he was in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Remember,
He was, yeah.
he was on the TV screen, so he actually made an appearance in Doctor Who. So this is why we're kind of bringing him up as well, I suppose, because he was in Doctor Who. They actually showed a clip of his show. Do you remember when where he made the comment about the UFOs? What did they all? What was it? What was the line?
I can't remember. It's something like, I'm sure I've just had some
The
bleach
UFOs?
instead.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It was funny.
Sure, I've not drank some bleach cleaner or something
Like that it was, but it was funny. So he had his little cameo in Doctor Who, but I would have loved him to be actually in a proper episode. Doctor Who, he's a legend, and he is, and he will be missed. He's one of the few celebrities out there that I can actually say or will actually, miss him on telly, because he's always been on telly and he always does something new, whether it's got to do with animals or whatever it is. Paul O'Grady was always working, and it is, and I feel sorry for his partner. I don't know if they were married, but if they were, I do apologize. But I think they weren't married. I think it was just partner. But you got to feel devastated for his partner and his colleagues right now, because like this is so sudden. And the weird thing about it was, though, after the news headline dropped, I went into his wiki, and straight away I had on his wiki that he was dead. Is that an automatic thing, or does that get updated by someone? Because I found that a bit weird. That normally I thought it'd take a few days before people would change that, but it was literally changed straight away, which I found a bit.
Yeah, that's a bit strange.
Anyway,
I think that they update them. I think they update them.
Let's get into the latest scandal. Okay, so you're gonna love this one. So, I can't even believe I'm actually gonna say this. So, Doctor Who magazine has been accused of ageism. Now, I'll fill in the blanks here. So, Starry-Eyed Girl put up a post where she explained that some fans in the Doctor Who fandom were accusing Doctor Who magazine of being ageism for having a classic for the magazine covering the classic era during the 60th anniversary year. One even actually responded by, and I retweeted this person because I thought it was ridiculous. Why don't you just create your own magazine? And I made it clear that Doctor Who magazine is our magazine. So I don't know why so they're giving out, because on the 60th anniversary year of Doctor Who, the magazine has decided to put some classic content in the magazine, and I think the cover, they didn't show the cover originally when they announced the magazine, but apparently the cover now has been released, and it's a classic cover, I think, with Tom Baker maybe on it or something like that. But remember, folks, this is the 60th anniversary year, and they've accused Doctor Who magazine of being a bunch of ageist idiots because it doesn't feel like their magazine anymore.
How do you respond to that?
Simple. It's simple. These fans have shown yet again
that they don't care beyond
that they're not actually fans. Sorry, I don't even know why I'm calling them fans, right?
No.
They have shown yet again that they don't understand what the Doctor Who magazine is. Now, when there is a 60th anniversary celebration, yes, they're going to mix it up. And remember, we've had stuff for Shooty's era, we've had stuff got to do with David Tennant's era, and now they're covering the classic era. And now all of a sudden, because they're covering the classic era, you little morons in the the fandom are crying because the magazine doesn't feel like your magazine anymore. And then one fan suggested that we create our own magazine. Doctor Who magazine was created by fans for fans.
No,
What are you talking about?
Do you know what's stupid? Even during the Whittaker stuff, because Chibnall never gave them any actual scoops or anything, there was loads of classic stuff in the magazine because that was what they could actually talk about. And they actually had like old writers and old producers from the classic era that would actually give them interviews. So they've been doing this for ages. So is it literally because it's the cover? Is this what's got their little brains turning?
Yeah.
Literally because of the cover.
Yeah. Because the magazine is
because they put an old Doctor. I'm guessing then would be they must have put an old classic Doctor on the cover.
Yeah, I think the new issue has Tom Baker on it.
Oh my days!
Look, they're showing their true colours. They're not fans of this franchise. They don't care, right? All they want to see is rainbows and unicorns on that magazine, and all the way through it, and their flags and all of that, and talking about which character is gay, non-binary, lesbian, and whatever they come up with. That's all they're interested in. When the magazine actually concentrates and focuses on Doctor Who, they throw their toys out of the pram, right? Yeah. Doctor Who magazine, by the way, has actually done a lot better since RTD has come back.
Of course it has.
Right? It's actually sold out in many cases, right? This is a success. These fans, so-called fans, right, just need to get with the program. Listen, Doctor Who is not just for you. It's for everybody. Fans, the British public, and if you are willing to come on board and enjoy Doctor Who the way it should be written, well then you're more than welcome. If not, well then I'll give you the advice that you gave us all of those years ago. Right? That is, if you don't like it, there's the door.
There's the door.
Okay? At the end of the day, we're sick and tired. It's been how long has it been since RTD's announcement? And yous are still...
It's a year.
Right, a year. And yous are still going on, right? The difference is we were justified because look what happened within the year that we were all complaining. It got worse and worse and worse. Whittaker was doing interviews, calling out the fandom. Mandip Gill was calling out the fandom. Chris Chibnall and Cole was calling out the fandom. And then at the same time, the show was dropping in ratings. You haven't even seen that yet, and you are still complaining. You have a problem with David Tennant, the white man, coming back as the Doctor, right? I noticed that you haven't, even though you have said RTD has brought back 2 male doctors, you aren't criticising Shooty Gatwa, and I'll tell you why. You aren't actually criticising him because he's a black man. Now, if Shooty was actually white, you would be complaining. That's how much of a hypocrite you actually are. Okay, we're sick and tired of this, right? Now, you can either be part of this fandom and get on board the gravy train with the rest of us, or just leave, because you do not have the power that you think you have anymore. You have none. We have none. The British public have none. RTD has it all, and he's the man that will decide which direction this franchise goes in. And there's nothing me, you, or anybody else out there can do about it. So it's time.
And also, I'm sorry, I've just thought back. Aren't these the same people that was praising the classic Doctor's little cameos in Jodie's last episode?
Yeah. So why? Yeah.
Why can't we have Tom on the cover, but we can have a load of classic Doctors in your Doctor's final episode?
Because Jodie was there. Because Jodie was there.
You were all saying they were really good scenes, which, to be fair, some of them were. Mm-hmm. But you were all praising it. You were all praising the companions at the end, and that was all classic companions.
Exactly.
There weren't any new ones.
So what you're complaining for? You obviously do like these characters, but for some weird reason, you are just think. Do you know what I think it is? They probably think they're going to betray Jodie Whittaker, right? If they get on board with this, but you aren't. Doctors move on. Actors and actresses move on. I get it if some of you loved Jodie Whittaker and thought she was the best Doctor and this was the best era of Doctor Who. I don't understand it myself, I've got to be honest with you. because I see the opposite. But if that's how you honestly felt, I get it, because I felt like that about other eras of Doctor Who. But you've got to understand the show changes, right? And I know you will say, but bringing David Tennant back isn't change. But unfortunately, if you do what Chris Chibnall has done for 5 years, whether you like it or not, right? But you see the decline. Unfortunately, sometimes it's gone so bad that you have to bring back the familiar to try win the crowd back over. And then we do get a new Doctor in Shooty.
Yeah, and let's be fair, we've all said this. If it was Tennant for 2 full series, yes, that would be completely wrong and completely the wrong direction. It's for 3 specials. That's a very condensed amount of time he's going to be on screen if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, I get some of you are still angry. I get some of you feel betrayed. And in fairness, though, you are barking up the wrong tree, and you are targeting the wrong people, and you know, I think it's ridiculous. The person that you should be mad at, right? I'm not saying you should go and be mad at this person, but the person that you actually should be mad at is Chris Chibnall. It's not Doctor Who magazine that you should be mad at. It shouldn't be RTD that you're mad at, or David Tennant, or if some of you are mad at Shooty and Millie. It's not their fault. It's none of their fault. The man that you need to be actually taking your protests, or whatever you want to call it, your grievances, are to Chris Chibnall. RTD is not responsible. I'm sorry, if Chris Chibnall had done his job properly, we wouldn't be sitting here discussing RTD back with Doctor Who. Because if he was a success, Jodie Whittaker would still be playing the Doctor, he'd still be showrunner, and then he'd probably be this would probably be Jodie's last season, and he'd be introducing a new Doctor.
And it would have been, and he would have picked somebody from his team or somebody connected to him as the next showrunner.
Yeah, if he was going to leave, right? That's what would have happened, right? And he probably would have doubled down and brought in another female Doctor just to hammer home the point that female Doctor is here to stay, right? But he didn't, right? He didn't even deliver on any of the promises that he made. His Tasman wasn't delivered on. The Timeless Child wasn't delivered on. There's so many plot holes. The Fugitive Doctor, I feel sorry for Jo Martin, to be quite honest with you. She was used. And it's absolutely disgusting. Yeah. She deserved better, right? I have to say, The Fugitive Doctor, I've watched it again. I have to say, that scene when the TARD is revealed and stuff, I think that is a pretty epic scene. I think Jo Martin did well with what she was given, right? She would have been a far better Doctor than Jodie Whittaker, I can tell you that, but still the two of them weren't good enough to play the Doctor, in my opinion. You needed an actress like, we keep saying it, Olivia Colman. You needed that caliber of actress to take this role on. If Michelle Gomez hadn't even played Missy, right?
Or Vicky McClure.
Yeah.
She would have been a very good Doctor.
Yeah. But the problem is, Noel, I don't think anybody with a high caliber as an actress, such as Olivia Colman, would ever even dare take on that role, because they know it would be career suicide.
Well, if the rumours are true, she turned it down.
Well, I think a lot of actresses would have been nervous to be the first female Doctor. I think that was more of it. It was being the first female Doctor.
But I think Jodie Whittaker, because she had a bit of arrogance about her, she didn't look at it in those terms.
No.
She to me, she's always come across as, and this is why I do have me gripes with her, but not so much now as I did back then, because ultimately the one that's responsible, as I keep saying to these fans, you're lashing out at the wrong people here. You shouldn't be angry at Doctor Who magazine or RTD, David Tennant, as I said. The person that you should be mad at is Chris Chibnall. But listen, here's the point. This man doesn't actually care. That's why he has no social media presence. He doesn't have to answer to you. So if you can't get at him, then who do you take it out on? He's taking it out on the people that are actually trying to do right by this show. I would urge you all, right, listen, we've had 5 years of you guys not liking what I've said. Come after me, try to take me down and all of this. Here's my advice to you. Wait and see what RTD does like what we're doing. Let's see what he does with David Tennant's Doctor. Let's see what he does with Shooty's Doctor. And then we can all judge. Give RTD a chance like he's gave Jodie Whittaker. And by the way, before anybody criticises me, yes, I was critical of this era of Doctor Who, the previous one, right? But I watched every single episode, no fail. And I did live panels,
We
fail.
all
Now, near
watched.
the end, I did live watch-alongs. I watched those episodes, every single one of them, every single special, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm a Doctor Who fan. Yes, I mightn't have liked the era. I thought the era was going in totally the wrong direction. But as a fan of the brand, Doctor Who, I stuck with it. Now, I urge you guys to do the same. Now, if it turns out not to be the way you want it, you can do what we did and complain, rant, and moan about it. You have that right. But the difference is we won't be coming after you guys. Right? Because if we're enjoying it, we're just going to talk about our enjoyment on it. We're not going to focus on you guys being negative about it like the way you's focused on us. Right? See, the main problem that you guys had is you should have just watched the show.
Yeah, and been happy in your own little clique.
And being happy, exactly. Right? And not giving us the attention. Because, it has to be said, a lot of us wouldn't have became the channels that we did if you guys didn't give us the attention in the first place.
Oh, I'll happily say this. Half the reason I came on YouTube was to be a female voice that was actually fighting against the prevailing statement
narrative.
Of it's only blokes that hate this.
Yeah.
That was my reason, and then I found lots of friends and brilliant people, so that's why I carry on to do it now.
Exactly. Look, just wait and see what happens. Obviously, Doom has thrown a spanner in the works well and truly. The Commons actually they put up another. They put up. Oh yeah, TV Zone put up an article about there's going to be a thing on Channel 5, the secrets and whatever of secrets and lawyers got to do it.
I've seen that.
Yeah, you've seen it on Doctor Who. But go into the comment section.
Yeah.
It's funny as hell. Well, nothing can be worse as the Doomsday announcement. Right? So literally everybody is in there slagging off Doomsday, even though this has nothing to do with BBC and this has got to do with Channel 5. This is a separate
and they do these sort of programs which are like the gossip and the behind the scenes stuff.
So, I'll watch that because apparently it's going to dig up some dirt. And to be honest with you, if Channel 5 is going to go after me showing people on the show, I'm going to watch this thing because if they say that and that I don't agree with, I'll be on here ranting at these idiots. So they better be respectful to the people that brought this show to us. If there is actually real scandal and they have evidence to back it up, I say bring it on. Bring it on, because at the end of the day, we do need behind the scenes and all of this to, everything to be right and people to feel comfortable, because, we don't want to go back. We don't want any other Jimmy Saviles out there. Do you know what I mean? We've had enough of those evil prigs. I'll just say that. Yeah.
No, I think that they're going to dig up the GNT scandal.
Yeah, that would be my thought.
And I think that's just
but is it fair? A rival channel, but is it fair? Look, I'll give it a good look. At the end of the day, I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to lie, right? Because I think ignoring it. I know Daniel says he's not even going to watch it. That's up to yourself, mate. But I would personally say I think everybody should, because this is a rival station.
Yeah, and also they picked the 60th year to put this out.
And exactly. And if they're going to be attacking the show, remember there is a lot that went on behind the scenes in the JNT era, and there has been a lot of allegations and stuff being made. But, there's two sides of this argument, as there always is anyway. Those that defend JNT and those who think whatever went on, which I don't know the full details of. So this documentary will obviously again, though, it's important to stress that this is a documentary by a rival channel. They will frame the information a certain way, so we've got to understand that. So the reason why I want to watch this then is watch the documentary and then actually put it up against what the actual facts are and see how close, see if the documentary is actually being honest. Because a lot of these documentaries, remember, they always, like movies, they dramatize a lot of this stuff to make the documentary more interesting. But so it just, I don't know what's going on, but I will give it a go because I want to see what's going on. But the 60th year to do this is a bit scummy.
Of course 5. It is. It's Channel 5.
Scummy behavior. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I wonder if anybody part of the BBC gets to comment on this documentary, or will they put it at the end? Will someone at the BBC?
We reached out to comments. Well, what did they say? We reached out for comment and they didn't respond.
Yeah, I'll be interested because remember as well, they're in a lot of trouble already as well. They've had to hold back releasing the TV show The Reckoning about Jimmy Savile. So they're going to detail his career and then talk about obviously the show is going to dramatize.
Well, it's a dramatize. Yeah, it's drama.
Some of the
events. Not like a documentary. It's a drama.
So they've pulled it because apparently they want to make sure they're getting lawyers and all on it. Apparently they've been talking to victims and stuff like this. My only issue is that it's BBC that's doing it, even though it's an ITV production. It's a co-production with ITV, though, so hopefully ITV can make sure that this is done properly. You know what I mean? Because BBC, just being this with BBC on it, just seems wrong to me that BBC are doing it.
Let's be fair, it's just on a basic level, it's conflict of interest times 100.
Yeah.
So that's just BBC.
So that's what's going on at the moment. Look, there's going to be more nonsense from these kids, but I would just say I'd plead with you, look, just wait and see what happens with RTD. You might be surprised. Sure, a lot of us are kind of have asked the same questions. In fairness, why David Tennant is back? The difference is we can actually answer that because we've analysed the last 5 years. I know some of you are in denial about the ratings and the success of this show, but if you actually analyse it, this actually makes sense. And bringing David Tennant back is a stroke of genius, whether you like it or not. He's the most popular New Who Doctor. Actually, him and Tom Baker regularly feature in polls where it's first and second between the two of them. It all depends on the mood of the fandom, but sometimes Tennant will win that poll. Sometimes Tom Baker will win that poll, but David Tennant will always be second, or Tom Baker be second. David will be first, or Tom will be first. It's always between those two.
And also, Russell knows he's bringing back a much more seasoned actor this time round in Tennant. When he started, he was very young. It was the start of his career. He's now the top of the acting tree in Britain.
That's what I mean. He'll bring a different level to his character now, and it'll be interesting to see what they actually. Why is he back? Is it actually him? We don't know any. This is the good thing. I just can't wait to see what happens. But the activists have ruined the show for me. Well, I had a word with you privately about that, and I made it clear to you, I don't think you should let these people ruin your enjoyment for RTD's era, because that was your era of Doctor Who. I think you're, personally, and as I said, you've made your decision, but I wouldn't give these people what they want. That's exactly what they want. They want you to stop watching. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. They want you to stop watching. They don't want you to watch RTD again, because remember, this is their game. They know
they want RTD to fall.
Yeah, they want our RTD to fall. So, I mean, in fairness, I think everybody's playing into their hands. And I know you're not the only one that's said the activists have ruined it. There's plenty that are in the same boat as yourself. But I'm just going to say it to you out straight, and I said it to you personally, so it's not anything I haven't said, but I'm going to say you're giving these activists exactly what they want. You don't watch the RTD era, well then, you know, you are actually helping them what they want to do. This is why they're screaming all the time. This is why they're giving out about the classic cover on the Doctor Who magazine. They want you to not watch. They want everybody not to watch.
Yeah, they're burning it down because it's not gone their way.
Exactly. So look, at the end of the day, as I said to you, I respect your decision. But you've got a few months anyway. You might change your mind. I hope you do. Personally, I hope you do change your mind, because I would say to everybody out there, you know, don't let these activists ruin your enjoyment for RTD's era, and that goes from his first era as well. I mean, I just don't get it. You enjoyed it at the time. There's no point to turning your back on it because of a few idiots. You know, feck Doomsday. Right? Yes, it was awful. Yeah, we'll all admit it was awful. Do you know what? Let her melt all she wants. Let her melt all she wants. At the end of the day, right, we don't know whether she's connected to the RTD era or not. My suspicion is she's not. My suspicion, as me and Charlotte have actually said, and Charlotte will back me up on this, we had a chat behind the scenes and we came up with the fact that this could be possibly sabotage. Because remember, there's still some people working within Big Finish and these licensees that love the Whittaker era.
And the BBC.
And the BBC. So this just does not... If you look at the quality of that, can you honestly tell me that you believe that that's part of RTD's thing after the little teaser trailer that we got? Come on. Look, at the end of the day, it's not my job to tell you what you can't and can't do. I just think it's such a shame that Doomsday has kind of derailed this optimism.
Yeah.
Yes, it was always fragile. And we did say that, in fairness to us, all of us here, we did say it was fragile and it would take one thing maybe to set it back. This certainly has, but me and Charlotte are of the opinion this could be possibly sabotage from a few from within.
This
and I'm not happy that
RTD
has brought David Tennant back, has then cast Shooty as the Doctor, even though he happens to be a person of colour, as they would call him. You know,
but to them, this is what we more focused on. We were like, if you think about it, Russell has done 2 male Doctors back to back. And we saw the way they were all, certain groups were talking before the announcement of Shooty, that they were absolutely having fits at the thought of a male Doctor.
And remember, they all said...
He's brought 2 back.
And they all said they were going to leave. So why haven't they left?
They were going to leave. So if they've not left, they could be purely sticking around now, because that's to be fair. And I mean in this sense that we know our sore points. We know the certain things that if we see we're going to have a natural sort of repulsed reaction to because of the Whittaker era. We know that. This seems to be purposely built to focus in on those points that they know we're going to go, what the is this? Having such a miscast person in the centre of it, have it be a female-led thing, have it be this assassin character which nobody can believe. Like, that was another hallmark of the era gone. Having a person who's cast with certain politics, I'll put it that way and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Having certain viewpoints that she's very vocal about.
It's definitely
so many
things
done. That seem to be purposefully put back together again to get us. And we know that there'll be people in the BBC, there'll be people in Big Finish, but I think this is more of a BBC thing, just my own little theory here. I think it's more people at the BBC who would have known way before we did that Russell was going to at least bring David back. They might not have known about Shooty, but they knew David Tennant was coming back. That would have been spread like wildfire at certain offices. And you
And I
not
want to
think
rub
that
some people up the wrong way. Why are you bringing this guy back for another? You know what I mean? The usual.
And we all said this. It's the ultimate sign that Whittaker failed to bring Tennant back.
Yeah.
So they've had time. Is more what also me and Nor were saying backstage. They've had time more than us because they would have known. Like I said, the Tennant stuff they would have known about way before us.
Yeah.
They would have had time to plan this to basically be retaliation.
Yeah.
Is what we were discussing. But obviously, we've got no proof.
This doomsday is. It's basically retaliation. It was to throw us off and to upset people like it has done. And to turn people off. They don't want us to watch. Trust me. Trust me on this. Charlotte agrees with me 100% here.
Yes.
They don't want us to watch the RTD. They don't want us to give this a go. They don't want us to give it a go.
They would have rather, because here's the other thing. We know at one point Doctor Who wasn't going to carry on beyond Whittaker. And that's what I think, honestly, certain people would have preferred. Because then they could have just, in a couple of years, they could have think people are going to forget, and then they could declare she was a massive success. But now with Tennant coming back and Russell, if they keep really good viewing figures, then it's her legacy as a Doctor is going to be sealed in stone that it failed.
And that's why you're seeing a lot of the fans on social media, these fans lash out. And I do believe, as Charlotte does, that there are people within the organisation that are not happy with the turn of events. Because, you know, let's all remember that even Stephen Moffat made complaints about BBC trying to force
force things into
and
the
in
program.
fairness to him, he tried to fight it as much as he could, but he did come up with a bit of a compromise. As you said, in some certain stories, he did come up with compromises. Now, that would have been a lot worse under Moffat if he hadn't have pushed back. Again, I think I have been a bit too tough on Moffat when I think about it, because he did push back quite a lot, and he did want to write the show the way he wanted to write the show. But there were so many women's groups. Listen, there's a famous podcast out there. I still think it's up to date, but the two women have kind of disappeared into obscurity in the Doctor Who universe, but they're still ranting and raving on other franchises. But they did a whole podcast, right? 3 women, I think it was, or 2 women. And literally, they were called the Something Feminists, right? And they spent that 2.5-hour podcast going through every single Stephen Moffat episode and pointing out examples of where he was being sexist and why he was dressing Amy the way he was dressing.
River. They had a fit over River.
Yeah, right. Now, the thing about it is Karen Gillan will even admit that she had a hand in some of her costumes. Like, it was Karen Gillan that kind of...
Yeah, she liked to look sexy.
She liked to look that way anyway. Yeah, exactly. So she kind of incorporated that into her Amy Pond costumes, which is nothing wrong with that. Billie Piper. Look at Billie Piper. She wore jeans, tracksuits and stuff like that. If you see her early music career and stuff, she wore those type of clothes that she wore in Doctor Who. They were the type of clothes. So she kind of... And I suspect it's the same with Millie Gibson, with the way she dresses in Doctor Who. I say when she's not on camera, you know, she's wearing those glamorous dresses and stuff like that. I say when she's at home, when she's with her friends, the type of clothes she's wearing on screen would be the type of clothes that she'd probably normally wear when she's around her friends and her family and stuff like that. So this is nothing new. Again, it's just, I'm just sick of all of this nonsense. But look, as I said, I'm not trying to tell people what to do. If you have decided that you haven't given RTD a go, I say, right, fair enough. I'm going to admit, I don't really understand the decision, but if that's what people want to do, that's fine. I'm just a bit pissed because I think me and Charlotte are onto something here. We know why this was done, and it's cynical, and this is what makes these people even worse. It's cynical.
And it's so short-sighted as well.
Yeah.
Because if you want to tear this brand down, that means you're tearing your job down. in the process.
That's
If,
what I
like I
mean.
said, if our theory has any weight to it.
See, the thing about it is a lot of them work Big Finish as well. So they're thinking, get rid of the main shots. Some of them are still going to be secure in their jobs at Big Finish because Big Finish will still
let's
continue.
be fair. Big Finish, the only Rangers that really get the pulling power are the Doctor Who Rangers. If the show goes down in flames, that will affect some of the sales of Big Finish. It naturally, just because they're so linked at this stage.
Some adults are having some kids promote.
Of course they are.
Now, listen, we were told that this wasn't supposed to be aimed at kids, it's supposed to be for adults. So now, let me get this straight. These are using
now they flipped
kids
it.
now. So it is for kids. Or it's not for kids. See, again, we don't know anything about. Apparently, they threw out more details. I went in. It was a small little fucking paragraph, and I read it and it explained what platforms this is all going to be. So it basically explained the kind of timeline and stuff like that, but it gave no actual details.
We still don't know who's the creative
story.
lead, folks. We still do not know who's the creative lead.
And on top of that as well, then you have her then bragging on Twitter that, you know, she's going in to she had a great day at work, and, you know, she reveled in the fact that it was driving some people crazy. So this is who we got. Listen, this woman, I can't believe I'm actually saying this. This woman, Suze, wherever her name is worse than Jodie Whittaker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's worse than Jodie Whittaker. So whoever was behind this got her deliberately on purpose because they knew she'd ruffled feathers. And that's exactly what she's doing. She's brought in as the head of all this, but she's brought in not because she's the head of all this, because they knew that she would ruffle a few feathers because it's part of the design, as we said, because this is all a stitch up. This is to stop people from watching. I know it is. I'm convinced now. I'm convinced because this is so bad. There's no way, in my opinion, that RTD thought this was, this is the first content I am Doctor Who content I am going to give fans in 2023. This is far from RTD. Now, yes, he's given it his blessing, and he says as part of the 60th, he was probably roped in to do that, right, to give this some sort of credibility. But this has no credibility. This is worse. Listen, this is worse than that we got during the Jodie Whittaker era. I could safely say that. This is absolutely pathetic. The more I watch that trailer, the worse it actually gets, right? Because I do me little videos, which probably got me into trouble on Twitter, which we won't get into. I won't be able to text on Twitter for 11 hours or something now, because apparently my account was reported. But the thing
it probably
about
was
it
the
is,
videos.
But the thing about it is, here's the kicker. It doesn't tell me why I was reported, right? It just says I'm locked out in my account. So that's never really happened, right? They tried to do it yesterday as well, but I appealed it and I won. But I can't even appeal this one for some weird reason. So someone has probably just reported the whole
Think about it this way. You've got 11 nice free Twitter hours. Just have a tiny little break from it.
Yeah. So someone is definitely targeting me, which I find kind of sad. But if you think I'm going mad, actually 11 hours off Twitter is not a bad thing. So, like, thanks. I got a free holiday again. But it is getting ridiculous. You know, I can't even respond or ask them. Tried to send them an email, and apparently the email, they don't read the emails or some mad crap I got back. So it's ridiculous. So just I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I'm just baffled. I'm baffled. But you know what? I think it might be actually a glitch, because it was a glitch yesterday and people were talking about it.
There has been glitches in the past.
Yeah, and my account came back. So that's the thing. This could be a glitch, because not even coming up and telling me what I've actually
That
been
is
taken
odd.
down
Yeah,
for, if
maybe
it's a
it's just a
specific
weird
tweet or
glitch.
anything like that. If not, someone has just gone in. Actually, I do know that there is a fella, or there is someone, I should say. Sorry, fella is the wrong word. There's a person on Twitter that's claiming that me, Gobby Guy, and a lot of other people are bullying a disabled person. Now, I haven't been part of any bullying campaign against anybody, but this person has actually gone and asked people to report me Twitter and my YouTube channel. I won't mention the person's name because I don't want to give them any air, but I just want to say to that person, I'm not involved in any bullying campaign, and I'll just say this to you: if you don't have any proof, and if things here keep getting affected, I know exactly who you are, and I'll be going further about it. You cannot just make false allegations without any evidence to back you up. I have not engaged in bullying anybody online with any sort of disability. That is absolutely disgusting to actually say that. I would never do anything like that. I don't even bully people,
You don't get
to be
involved
quite
in stuff
honest with
nowadays.
you. The only time that I ever come out against anybody is if they've made stupid allegations like you've done, and I've defended myself. So at the end of the day, leave it out, quit it, because it's getting tiring now. But if it continues, I will be going further about it, because you are a bit stupid. You've kind of released your whole identity and where you live and stuff online because you're that stupid. And I'll just pass that information on to the police in your area and get them to sort it out. You cannot be making false allegations. I haven't bullied anybody on Twitter. So don't be dragging me into this because you have a problem with stuff that other people are saying on the platform. Okay? It's nothing to do with me. Simple as that. This is why I keep telling everybody out there, anybody follows me on Twitter, I just want to make one thing clear, right? I don't want to be tagged in posts like that, right? I don't want to get involved in any nonsense. I told people this last year, and I can't believe I have to actually say it again. Don't be tagging me in posts, right? That's got to do with that other side of the fandom. I don't want to know what they're crying about. I don't care what they're saying about me, right? Just keep me out of it, because if people tag me, then they think I'm involved in it, right? And I'm not involved in it. If you are having a personal beef with someone on Twitter or whatever, then have that with them. Don't drag me into it. It's nothing to do with me. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do, right? I honestly don't give a crap what their opinions are. So just please keep me out of it, because it's affecting what I do here, right? And that's how serious it is. People need to start wising up, man. Twice they tried to take down this channel in 2 months, and now my Twitter account is under attack. So it needs to stop. People need to stop tagging me in shit and tagging me in stuff that's antagonizing the other side. I don't want any part of it, right? It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
Right?
and just in general, folks, just leave the other side at this point. What's the point in carrying on arguments
I know.
when the show's moving forward? The show is going beyond now the Whittaker stuff and the Chibnall stuff.
There's people on both sides that just can't let go.
That's what I'm saying. As a fandom, we need to just look to what's actually happening with the show in the future now and forget. Not forget, that's not the right word. Just leave in the past what happened before. Unless they do something that you need to defend yourself with, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you were antagonizing, just stop.
Yeah. Look, I mean, as I said, people have told me that people are setting up campaigns to take down my channel. Yeah, that is important to let me know, so I have a heads up. You know what I mean? But tagging me in a post where some stan is having a go, and then I'm getting tagged into it because someone wants me to. I'm not going to respond. No. I don't care. So just please keep me out of it. It's not me being a prick here, right? Listen, I've done my bit for 5 years. I even stood up against these people, and it affected me mental health, right? Affected me wife, affected me friend. I'm not going through that again. I don't want any part of it. Now, if people want to continue them arguments, then fine. You do it yourselves and keep me out of it, right? If you see people that want to take down my channel, that's fine. Obviously, you're going to come and tell me, and you would be right to tell me. But I don't care if some little stand out there is giving out because, they don't like the show, and then someone tags me in it because, like, you want me to respond. I don't want to respond. I don't care. Don't care what they think, right? Lest they come after me directly or any people that we know. I want no part of it, right? The end of the day, we're moving forward, right? Whether people don't come with us or not on the RTD journey, that's up to themselves. But I'm moving forward. I'm looking forward to that journey. I want to see what happens, and that's what I'm focused on. I don't care about the past, okay? The Whitaker era, the Chibnall era is done, right? I've drawn a line under it, right? It's done, right? So I don't want any involvement in any arguments that's going on still about it today. I don't care. I will call out shit like the Doctor Who magazine and them calling it ageist because they are a bunch of idiots and they deserve to be called out. And then for someone to even suggest that we create our own magazine when Doctor Who magazine was created for fans. You know what I mean? It already is our magazine. Just because you don't like the direction the magazine is going in, I would suggest then you leave the show because you obviously hate everything that's connected to it. And that would be my point. Simple. Anyway, does anybody else got anything to add to all this before we leave? Because I see John is in and out all the time, and he probably.
And I've got the sniff. I'm sorry, folks. I've got the sniffles. If you've seen me on camera.
Yeah.
I've got that as well. I think it's the weather.
So anyway, that's where I stand. Unless people are coming after me and people we know, I've no interest. You know what I mean? If it's any other nonsense, I've no interest. That's what matters. Protecting us here and the channel and stuff. Yeah. And it's getting ridiculous. It's lucky on YouTube I've won me appeals, but the last one obviously I didn't because it was covering the Sanctuary of Geeks stuff. And maybe they had a point because I did play a bit of that clip, and that clip is so, which means if they're taking down that clip, then that channel, if it's not already taken down, is probably gone now, and rightly so. Hatred like that has no place in the fandom or in society, and we look. I called it a long time ago anyway. With him, I was telling people about him, and nobody'd listen to me. Nobody listens to me, but I predicted all of this. I said that this man was really, really awful. And then he brings that fella on. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And the way he spoke about gay people and stuff and saying it was a sin. I mean, people should have wised up then. But there you go. He eventually, well, that did cross the line, but that obviously wasn't enough for some people. But as soon as he said the things about RTD and Millie Gibson, which those Millie Gibson comments are bad, but I have to say those comments he made against RTD, that homophobia was absolutely disgusting.
Oh, it was
the worst thing, vilest thing I ever heard. And the reason why I covered it and highlighted it is because I wanted to call this bigotry out. But of course, YouTube, because I played the clip, obviously had a problem with it. So yeah, but I just say to the people out there, look, at the end of the day, the Whitaker era is over. It's time to move on. There's no point of holding old grudges because you don't like the opinions I had about it. I mean, the way you are acting, you think I was solely responsible for the downfall of Doctor Who, the way you are going on. I mean, there are bigger YouTubers out there that have said probably the same stuff that I've said, and nothing. But yeah, for some weird reason, I
It's
mean, I'm
just
not
you, Noel.
responsible.
You're just
I'm
like
not the
so hateable to these people.
yeah. I'm not responsible for the downfall.
No, but you are. Let's be honest.
No.
Yeah.
Your
I don't.
stream single-handedly made all those millions of people not watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got that much of an ego. I actually
You
believe
have.
that. Yeah. The fuck I do. Yeah. As if, listen, on the small little patches of all we said, it gave me opinion. It's just for a small little channel. I will say this: we have made our mark, and that's one thing I am proud of. Might be a small channel, but we made our mark. Maybe not the mark that I wanted or the reputation that I wanted, even though none of that is true. But it's the reputation that you do have, and unfortunately, if enough people say that you're this, that, and the other, that sticks, no matter what. And that's what I found. That's the hardest thing about YouTube is once people have an opinion on you and it sticks, that's all people say. But this channel is so much more than that. It is a pity, but some people are waking up because while I've been away, by the way, our subscriber count has jumped right up again. So that week break actually did more for the channel than it would if I had went live. So again, it benefits me. I used to get angry about this stuff, but I'm not gonna get angry. At the end of the day, this has been going on 5 years. It'll continue to go on for as long as I do YouTube. Eventually, I will pack it all in. I will sign off and say goodbye when I've had enough of it. But I'll go on my own terms. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. Or I will try anyway to go on my own terms.
You'll try. That's good phrasing.
Yeah, I will
Quite
try. And that's the way it is. I love doing what I do here. I might get frustrated sometimes, as you know, I do. But I do enjoy what I do here, and I'll continue to do it for as long as you want me to do it. But that is it for tonight. Don't forget, we are back Friday because we are back officially now. So Friday night contact is at 9 o'clock. Before that, we have the Zone talks. I don't know if it's just myself. I'll find out soon enough. And then obviously we'll be away then the weekend, and we'll be back then on Monday for normal streams. I will let you know in the meantime what I'm gonna replace Classic Who with on Wednesday. Yeah. So for now, Wednesday is free. But what I'll do is you can still come on Wednesday. We'll just do something else.
Something
Wednesday.
Different.
We'll just probably have a chat about stuff. We might just have a random chat on Wednesdays because we missed them.
What it could be? It could just be like, those random chill streams where we just chat about whatever.
Yeah, we'll probably just do a random chill stream where each person can bring up topics that they want to talk about, and then the rest of us then on the panel then I suppose can give their opinion if we know anything about the particular thing that our topic that the panel bring up. So I think that's what we'll do on Wednesdays, and we'll bring back ClassicWhoZone back in September, maybe the end of August. That's
I was going to say maybe like proper, not just before the anniversary, but quite close to it. I think might be a good
or even do that. Idea. Yeah, maybe bring it back in October.
Yeah, I'm just thinking just for people for interest, maybe.
Yeah, because remember, we're going to be getting classic stories as well. I think BBC are going to be showing some over the 60s. So look, there'll be plenty to do. We'll be talking about them as well, by the way. And there'll be a lot of documentaries and all BBC will have to put out. And I'm pretty sure they've lined some Disney Plus stuff up as well. So there'll be plenty of Doctor Who content. There'll be plenty of stuff still to do on the channel. It's just right now, PD is doing his theatre work and it's running over quite a lot the last couple of weeks, or the traffic has been bad, which we know because of all the strikes and all the shit that's going on in the UK as well as Ireland. It's gone crazy, right? So we're not always going to and Lee, obviously, I suspect because of the Lily Savage news, the Paul O'Grady news, I reckon that's why he wasn't here today, because this is one of his favourite stories, and I know for a fact he would have been here. So this is why we decided that this will be the last one until obviously the winter. And we will do a chill stream on Wednesdays instead with Charlotte, Real Super Doctor, and if PD and Lee want to be here as well.
Yeah. PD, I think he said next week he should be able to be here a bit more. I'm sure he said this week was the last of the overrun a little bit. So hopefully we'll see him next week.
Grand. So that's what we'll do. We'll do the chill stream. We'll talk about different topics that the guys want to talk about. Because remember, we all have our own interests in TV shows and movies that we watch as well. And I think it'll be interesting to hear some of the other stuff that the panelists like. Because we know about their love of Doctor Who and what their favourite episodes are. But maybe you don't know what Queen Charlotte's favourite movie is or TV show is or Real Super Doctor. Well, I didn't know it's got to do with Titanic. If it happened with Titanic with Real Super Doctor, me and Real Super Doctor are big Titanic stuff, but we'll talk about other stuff as well. But there'll be plenty of stuff to talk about, right? So come and join. So that's me done with the shout outs. And obviously go and watch Scottish Stavros and Friends Wrestle with Pop Culture's latest stream with myself, Queen Charlotte, Lee.
Where you can get to see me and Lee in real time get bored to death because the lads talked football.
And Sean, yes. But it was a very good stream that covered a lot of topics and we had a fun time. I have to actually say, I would say to Daniel, if you're still listening, you should probably do those streams or get different guests, maybe different people on maybe once a month and do a big stream like that at the end of the month or something, because that was very entertaining stream, I have to say. I really enjoyed myself on that one. It was really good fun. So go and watch that stream if you haven't, and if you haven't subscribed to his channel, please do. I mean, if you haven't subscribed to his channel already, I'd say, what the hell are you doing? Like, he's been following me long enough for me, and I've mentioned it loads of times. Why haven't you followed him?
I'm on there enough, so yeah.
So go, if you want to see Queen Charlotte there too, do her stuff, go and subscribe to Daniel's channel. And I do know in the future, he'll be doing more streams with Sean and stuff like that. So go and check out his channel. That was a great stream. Really enjoyed it, have to say. We will go on to Queen Charlotte now.
Yep, so you will catch me on the Spacebook. We have got our sort of big Easter show this week, and then I think we're on a little bit of a break afterwards. Dan will probably correct me, or he'll say on Thursday tomorrow if we're on a break. I think we are. But yes, so we also had sort of our surprise Doom stream the week before, where we all got lots of things off our chest. And if you want to hear a lot of sarcasm and a lot of ranting, you can listen to that. And then they've just dropped a podcast this week about I can't think of the fella's name, which I feel bad, but he's apparently watching every bit of Doctor Who from all the 60 years. And they've got him on to talk on a podcast, so that should be on the channel as well. So go to the Spacebook and you'll catch me here on New Who and the chill streams now.
Fantastic. Yeah, chill streams. That's what we're going to call them. Just chill streams. That's it. The chill zone.
Chill zone.
There we go. We'll call it the chill zone. Right. We don't have a trailer for the chill zone, but we'll figure it out. It's the chill zone. Anyway, there you go. We'll go to Real Super Doctor next.
You can find me on YouTube under Real Super Doctor, and you can find me on Twitter under Real Super Doctor.
Fantastic. And don't forget to check out Gobby Guy stream. He's actually doing a stream while we were live, actually. I don't know if he's still live now. If not, it'll be on the channel. But they were covering himself and John the White were covering the Adam Deacon stuff, showing you the true side of Adam Deacon, because if anybody doesn't know, while Noel has had all of these troubles, Adam Deacon, the guy that literally was charged with harassment and had a restraining order against him, has been talking crap about Noel Clarke and making all sorts of stuff. So Noel Clarke is obviously, as you know, has been speaking up about that in several podcasts, and the lads are obviously covering Adam Deacon, and it's going to be very interesting. I also have an upcoming stream. I'm just waiting on the last podcast that's coming out tomorrow on that YouTube channel from James English, and then I will have my stream where I'll be talking about, firstly, I'll be talking about The Guardian and giving you factual information on former journalists that have accused The Guardian of bullying and the type of tactics that The Guardian employ and use. That's what I'll be talking about. And I will also be covering this whole spider web of conspiracy around the Noel Clarke hit piece, and why I do believe that this is a 10-year revenge in the waiting. Even the timing of the article dropping is suspicious, and I will be delving into all of that. So if you haven't gone and seen the Noel Clarke interviews, I suggest that you do. He did one on ZZ Mills' channel. Go and check that out. And he did another one on, where is it? He did another one on We Are the World or something like that, or All Around. Hold on, I'll try get it up because I followed both channels afterwards. Do you know what I'll do? Even better, I'll put them in the chat right now. So just bear with me for a minute, and I'll get those streams up and I'll put them in, because I think it is important. Guys, listen, there's two sides to a story, right? And all we've ever heard is the story from The Guardian. Okay? We never heard from Noel. And Noel actually does address the fact why he hasn't spoken up until now. And I'll give you the reason why. The reason why he hasn't spoke up until now is because the one person that we think that's involved in all of this, that has weaved this web, suffers from mental health issues. And Noel Clarke, get this, didn't want to send that person over the edge. So that's why Noel has kept silent. But because this person now has decided to mouth off for the last, since this all broke, Noel has decided enough is enough, and he's going to tell his side of the story. And I do really believe that everybody should go in and watch. I'm just going to mute myself because I don't want the volume to come up through this. So just bear with me for a sec. So if one of you guys want to talk there just real quickly while I set this up.
Well, just we can say in general entertainment, we've had lots of accusations being thrown, and then we have found out it's a very different picture when the party that's been accused has actually had their opportunity to speak. So I think more than ever, we really need to make sure we always hear both sides of these stories, and it's very much innocent until proven guilty, and we need to not lose that, because anybody can accuse anybody of anything within reason. We just need to be a bit more careful what we listen to and just wait and not instantly jump on people and bandwagons.
Right, it's called the Winners Yoki podcast. But I've got the two videos there. One from the one that he did with ZZ, and the one that he did with the Winners podcast, or whatever they're called. The two interviews are there. Now, the thing you'll notice, right, because if you are really paying attention, you will notice that the two interviews are literally identical. I mean, the responses from Noel Clarke when he's asked questions. Now, obviously, they're asked in a different way, but he actually even says, I know I'm repeating myself here again because I've done another podcast. He goes, but this is what happened. So if you watch the two interviews, the one thing that I can say clearly, and I'm not even an investigator, but if I was to investigate him, I'd say his story is very consistent and hasn't changed detail whatsoever. Now, if you watch those two podcasts, you will see he does not. There's no detail that he said in one podcast that's slightly different in the next. It's identical. So to me, this man is consistent in his story, and he's got a timeline of events which I have, which he hasn't really gone into on these podcasts, but I have it. I have the timeline, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. You're probably going to hear things and see things that haven't been reported on, right? Because Noel, see, this is the thing for the people that have done this to him. What they don't realise is that actually Noel has kept receipts over the last 10 years. And he has receipts. I've seen the receipts. I just can't wait until The Guardian, when the whole thing goes into motion, when they have to produce their evidence, because there's absolutely none and they're screwed. Now, hopefully when Noel wins, will he be able to resurrect his career? I hope so. Now, I was going to do a stream on Twitter just before we end, but the one thing I have noticed, and I'm going to call out, because Noel brought it up in one of his podcasts, and it's actually a very valid point, and it made me actually open my eyes, same with Gobby. But I find it quite disturbing that the community that he represents, the community that he's opened a lot of doors for, with the work that he's done in film and in TV, have turned their backs on him. There's quite a lot of people in the black community that have made up their minds, and without even looking at the other side or listening to him, have already made up their minds that he's guilty. May I point out that an article in a newspaper that none of the alleged victims went to the police and no crime was ever reported, which means there was no investigation, which means that the Guardian lied when they reported that the investigation was dropped. There was no investigation because none of the alleged victims went to the police or reported the crime. So how could there be an investigation of something that was never reported? There was never an investigation. This is a stitch-up job, plain and simple, and the truth is going to come out, and I'm glad Noel is speaking up. But for the people that have turned their backs on him, and not just people in the black community, as I said, but I'm talking about work colleagues, directors, producers, people that know this man. He has turned his back on him in a hit piece in a newspaper, and 2 years later, none of those alleged victims have still to this day went to the police. So what was their motivation? Was it money? Because they went to why would they go to the Guardian if it wasn't for money? There's something here. People have to ask questions. This is why, I'm glad Noel's speaking up. But a lot of people, journalists, we've even spoke to people, I've even called people out. And as soon as I mentioned the fact that there's no investigation done because no crimes were reported, none of the alleged victims went to the police, what happens, right? Within a couple of minutes of retweeting them and pointing that fact out, they block me. They block me, right? And I think that's absolutely disgusting. You're not even willing to listen to what he says and see what John the White has dug up. Right, there are clearly holes in this. There's more holes in that article than there is in Swiss cheese. It's as simple as that. So this is the start now. Hopefully Noel can get his story out there. Hopefully people will listen, and I think people in the community that he represents, that he's done a lot for, shame on you for turning your back on him that quick, without knowing all the details. He's have jumped on an article by a newspaper who the article was written by two feminists who actually know the person that harassed and bullied Noel Clarke and his family, by the way, just to make that clear. So there's a connection. This is definitely a stitch-up job, and I will say it. This was a hit piece 10 years in the making, folks. Right? And they're saying that he has an ego and he's arrogant because he likes to be perfect in his job and likes people to be on time, and may have gave someone a bit of a earache because they didn't turn up for work on time. I'm sorry, his reputation's on the line, his career's on the line. He has to make decisions, and if you are all messing up and not turning up for work, what's he supposed to do? Just take it, patches all on the back and say, well done for not doing your job properly? No. End of story. Anyway, I am done with my rant.
That's Ted telling you to be quiet. That's Ted
telling me to be quiet now, yes. Hey, teddy bears and all. Love you, buddy. Yes, you little freak. Anyway, that's me rant done for today. But I would urge everybody, if you haven't watched that podcast, I put the two of them in there. Go and watch them. The Winners podcast, I think, is one. The links are in the chat now. And ZZ Mills' interview as well. Now, ZZ, I just have to say, just to let you know, that James English, his podcast is coming up, but he's gotten a lot of stick and criticism for doing the interview. ZZ has also gotten a lot of criticism and despicable messages. People saying, how could you do this as a black woman, bring that creature on, and all this rubbish. And then the lads on the podcast have also gotten a bit of grief. So it just goes to show you how people in society, I mean, imagine, this is what's messed up about this. Imagine all the newspaper has to do is do a hit piece on you, and that's it. That's your career over, because nobody respects law and order anywhere. So even though none of these people went to the police, no crime was ever reported, so there was no investigation dropped like the Guardian suggested. There was no investigation to start off with. So if there was no investigation to start off with, how can you drop an investigation? But you can literally lie in a newspaper article and then bring a few women in to say, well, yeah, I know that Noel has photographs of someone, this victim, or has video of this person, right? Without having to produce any evidence. You can cancel someone and ruin someone's life, right? Back in the day, we respected the law, but even the law hasn't gotten involved in this because, as I said, none of these so-called victims, right? If they are so victimized, right, and this is directly to any alleged victim out there, why haven't you gone to the police? Why did you go to the Guardian newspaper and accept money for the interview? Because you didn't do it for free. So what was your motivation? Who's really behind this? Why don't you save yourselves right now and tell everybody who's really behind it? I know who's really behind it. Gobby Guy knows who's really behind it. John the White knows who's really behind it. So why don't you do yourselves a favour, set yourselves free and tell the truth? Because this ball is rolling now. And I noticed, actually, by the way, one of the journalists that did that believes all of this, I don't think wrote the article, but one of the women that was criticising Noel Clarke, then all of a sudden I sent you DMs. They're even trying now to get their stories straight, folks. They're trying to get their stories straight. Noel Clarke was stitched up, no matter what you think of him, right? Some people out there might think he's a dickhead. Some people out there might think he's not warm, right? As Easy said, some people might think that you're not warm and you're this sort of person. But as Noel said, he doesn't give a crap about all that. He's all he's ever done in his life is get up, go to work, look after his kids, make sure there's food on the table. That's been his main priority throughout his whole career. This was a stitch-up job by a jealous person, which Noel has spoke about, and more will be revealed. This person is not getting away with it now. Their house of cards are going to fall down around them. This was a stitch-up job. I would urge you to watch those 2 podcasts and watch the English one that's coming out. It's very important that Noel's voice is heard, and it's very important that you guys show that he is supported. Because I tell you, I do not have any regrets backing Noel Clark and having Noel Clark on this channel. From what I've seen, I can tell you that there's more to this than just an article in a newspaper. This is multi-layered like an onion. This was a stitch-up job, and that's the bottom line. And it all will be revealed. And I'm not going to say any more. I probably said a bit too much because I want to keep stuff as a surprise for the stream. But we'll get into it in a lot more detail. But as I said, I'm waiting on that interview. I've been waiting on this interview. This interview has been delayed several times. I don't know why. But this is the main one for me because the other 2, Noel talks quite frank in those interviews. But in the latest one that you're seeing, he actually breaks down in this interview. So it really gets personal, really gets emotional. And I think he talks about some of the stuff that has been going on. And this is why this stream, to me, this one is the most important podcast that actually come out. So that's out tomorrow, according to his YouTube channel. It's out tomorrow. So look out for that. James English. Here, look, I'll put his bleeding YouTube channel in here so you can get a notification for that. But this, as I said, this stream has been put back a couple of times. I don't know if they've had to get lawyers involved to make sure that there's nothing in it that will get James into trouble or Noel into trouble, because you got to remember there's still an active case going on. Some people have actually said, though, why Noel is speaking now when he has an active case. Well, hold on.
Hello, so I just see Darren Zones popped in the chat. Thank you for popping in. We should be wrapping up pretty soon. We're just Noel's talking about the Noel Clark situation and the updates that you've probably seen on YouTube with some of the interviews and podcasts he's been doing. Lord Dolph, you've popped in a couple of minutes ago as well, so thank you for popping in and saying hello. We still have got Daniel in the chat. We have...
Yeah, back. Anyway, yeah, Daniel, Darren's on. Nice to see you. I've put that in. It's there, ready to go. There's a little trailer, so if you go in, you will actually see a trailer on the premiere getting ready to go. So he's put a little trailer up for you to watch. So even the trailer itself, go and check out the trailer. It's very dramatic, I have to say. And I think this stream, by the looks of things, took a lot out of Noel. You could see that this is really an emotional one. So go and check
Sean.
it out. We got Sean in the chat as well.
Why are you guys all coming now?
I know.
We're about to wrap up.
I know. When we're about to wrap up, I know. But we're going to have a new chill stream next week. So, do you know what? I might move that to 7 o'clock or something.
I was thinking that if it's a chill stream, maybe
we'll start at 7. Then that way, if people come in, we'll do a couple of hours, and people come in, they'll get the tail end of it or something.
Yeah.
Right. We'll leave it there. I'm gonna remove the banner now because that means I'm leaving. See, when I remove the banner, it means I'm leaving. And
That's a promise, folks. He's said it now.
I'm serious. I'm serious about leaving. I just realised that Cheryl actually sent me a message to say food, and
how long ago?
About a half an hour ago, and that's why she came in with the dog. And now she's actually gone to the shop.
So that means stop streaming.
I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because I went over. Yes. She's been telling me off lately. Yeah, I feel oppressed. We're a dying species. Anyway, I'll talk to you on Friday for the TARDIS talks. Don't forget that's at 5:45, and then 9 o'clock with myself and hopefully Lee I think Chris is still off. I'm not sure. But Friday night contact, I'll be here either way. So come and join me and whoever is here on Friday. And go and check out Dan's Facebook for more stuff with Charlotte. And go and check out Real Super Doctor stuff as well. And don't forget to tune in to all the other people on this channel, people that we champion on this channel, good streamers. So we leave it there, folks. Good night. Have a good evening. And
good night,
I will
panel.
leave you with the ClassicWhoZone panel, and Real Super Doctor's trying to do a lead there.
Yeah, he has.
Good night panel. So we'll say good night to you guys. Thanks for tuning in, support me. Sorry we went around for a week. Nothing we could do. Our hands were tied, but we're back now, and we will talk to you very soon. Have a good one, folks. Night.
Good night, children.